Hi, I'm Annie Fitzsimmons. I'm your Washington Realtors Legal Hotline lawyer. Today we're talking about payment of referral fees, and we're talking about this topic in the context of our series entitled Real Estate Fundamentals You Should Know. This is a question I get so often, and it often, I believe, comes from brokers who are trying to build their practice. And brokers want to know, can I offer an incentive, one of two categories, either to a buyer or seller, this is one category, either to a party to the transaction to either list with me or to let me help them find a house with them being the buyer. Or, separate category, can I pay a referral fee to incentivize somebody to send a buyer or seller to me? And in this video today, we're going to talk about these in two very distinct categories because the answer to the question is exactly opposite depending on which category we're talking about. Let's talk first about buyers and sellers. Can I offer to give the buyer or the seller in the transaction some kind of incentive, a financial incentive to work with me? Maybe for the buyer, I'll pay $1,000 of their closing costs. Maybe I'll send the seller on a trip, a cruise around the world. Who knows what? I hear all kinds of suggestions for what brokers might want to do for buyers or sellers, and the answer is yes. I don't care what it is you want to offer them. You can give the buyer or the seller in the transaction any or all of your commission. Why? People say that doesn't seem right. That's what we call a kickback or a rebate or something like that we know has to be unlawful because we hear about that in our light pre-licensing courses. And the answer is no, it's none of those things, because when you give money back to the buyer or the seller, the people who are actually paying your compensation in the transaction, all you're doing is agreeing to take less in compensation rather than more. Now wait a minute, let's make a distinction, because we all know that in the typical transaction, seller pays the commission, but they share it with the buyer's broker, and so buyer's not actually paying the commission. Except, remember, seller pays the commission from seller's proceeds. Who gives seller the money that results in seller's proceeds? Buyer. So when buyer pays their purchase price, part of what they're paying is proceeds that seller will then use to pay compensation. So at some level, the compensation paid to the real estate brokers is coming from both the buyer and the seller. So if either party to the transaction receives a financial gift from the real estate broker, it's only a reduction in compensation paid, and it's lawful. Now, with that said, let's chase down a few more rabbits in this discussion. Number one, if the concession we're giving is to the buyer, then buyers have to confirm with their own lender whether or not that concession is lawful. You have to avoid any allegation of loan fraud, lender fraud, by giving gifts to the buyer of which the lender has no knowledge. So we make full disclosure, buyers, you make full disclosure to your lender of any gifts that the buyer broker or any broker is going to be giving you through this transaction. We avoid allegations of loan fraud by doing that. Additionally, remember who actually earns the compensation in any real estate transaction. It's not the brokers, it's the firm. Listing firm, buyer broker's firm, it's the firm that earns the compensation. So brokers, before you start giving away the firm's money, make sure you have your DB's, your designated broker's permission to do that. Okay, that's the discussion in the category related to buyers and sellers. Now let's talk about the other category related to referrals. Can I pay a referral fee to a non-party to encourage them to send the names of buyers and sellers to me? And the answer to that question is a very qualified yes. Here's the qualifications. The qualifications have to do with whether or not the payment is contingent on a successful closing, and also has to deal with a condition related to the federal law known as the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. Let's start with the first. State law says that you can pay a referral fee to a non-party who's also not a real estate broker. Let's take real estate broker referrals out for a minute. We're just dealing with, the person you see in Safeway, advertising that you might run that says, I'll give you $250 if you send a buyer or seller to me. That kind of a referral fee is lawful if the referral fee is payable by you at the time that the referral is made. If payment of the referral to the non-party, non-real estate broker is conditioned on a successful outcome, it violates state law. So whatever concession or referral fee you offer to a non-party, non-real estate broker, make sure it's something you're willing to pay, whether the referral results in a successful outcome or not. So in other words, don't offer a huge sum. As long as it's not conditioned on a successful outcome, you're fine under state law. The issue with payment of a referral fee to a non-party, non-real estate broker of any amount is found under federal law. The federal law, known as RESPA, the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, says that it is unlawful to give anything of value in exchange for a referral. The federal agency, HUD, Housing and Urban Development, said a long time ago that the definition of settlement service providers is broad enough to include just a random third party who's neither a party to the agreement nor a real estate broker. The definition is broad enough to include that individual, making it unlawful to pay a referral fee to them. And the reason why I emphasize that it was a long time ago is because we have not received any comment. When I say we, I mean we as an industry have not received any comment from HUD in recent past as to whether or not it would still be considered a violation of RESPA to pay a referral fee to a non-party, non-real estate broker. I'm not aware of HUD pursuing action against any real estate brokers for making these kind of fee payment or these referral payments. I know it happens very, very broadly, but based on the only information we have related to RESPA, it is in fact, even if it's only technical, it is in fact a violation of federal law. So before you engage in this marketing practice, talk to your designated broker. Your designated broker may want to talk to legal counsel, but work it out with your designated broker before you offer this type of incentive. Make sure that you are at a minimum compliant with state law by making payment of the referral fee to this non-party, non-real estate broker not be conditioned on a successful outcome. If you have a question on payment of referral fees to either the category of seller-buyer or this non-party, non-real estate broker category, send an email to me. Be happy to engage in further discussion with you about these topics. Legal hotline at warealtor.org. Thank you for being a Washington Realtors member.